Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be showing you the must-have tools that you need to get started building today. These are all simple tools, there's nothing crazy, but once you understand how to use them, you can build almost anything. With these tools alone, I was able to build my workbench, my dining room table, plus so many other projects. Before we jump in, make sure you hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you know exactly when I'm about to drop a new video. Thanks guys, now let's get into these tools. Alright, so here is the Black & Decker circular saw. So this saw's got a front hand grip that's great for maneuverability and safety. You want to be able to have a tight grip on any power tool you're handling. It's also got a 20-volt lithium battery that you can just pop out to charge and even use it on your other Black & Decker tools. On the side here, there's a knob to adjust the cutting depth. You just loosen it, and on the front side of the saw, there are these numbers on the saw cover which help gauge the cutting depth. So you can use that to help set whatever depth you want to cut your materials. Then once you have it set, you just tighten the knob back and you're good to go. On the front of the saw is the bevel adjuster. Here you can loosen the knob and adjust the bottom plate of the saw for when you want to make any angled cuts. Just like any table saw or miter saw, it's got a range of 0 to 45 degrees. So to use this saw, there are two things you have to do. There's the trigger and then there's the safety lock. You have to be pressing both of them in order to use the saw. It's a good safety measure to have so you don't accidentally turn on the saw. Another safety measure is the saw cover, which gets pushed back once you start driving the saw through a material. Next is the Black & Decker 20-volt max cordless drill. This drill also has a 20-volt lithium battery that you can also use with the circular saw. There's this drill bit holder on the front of the base that you can just pop off and use. On the top, there's this torque adjuster that you twist to adjust. There's also the 2-speed switch that you can adjust as well. So you just flip it back and forth, 1, and then 2. On either side of the drill, there's the switch for drive and reverse. That's easy to use when you're doing joints. There's also a light on the drill which comes in handy so often. So next, we've got the Black & Decker Orbital sander. This is a corded sander and it's got this nice grip pad on the top which makes it easy to hold on to when sanding projects. The on and off switch is also right in the front here, so it's easy to get to. There's the dust collection bag in the back to help manage the dust, but you'll definitely want to make sure that you're wearing a mask when sanding to protect you from the superfine dust particles in the air. There's also holes in the bottom of the sander to help capture some of the dust. Also, while we're speaking of sanding pads, when the edges of your pad start to wear down and look like this, just replace the whole pad with a new one. Don't even waste your time with trying to make an old pad work, it's just not worth it. For sanding pads, I recommend just buying a bunch of sanding pads in different grits. I have everything from 80 to 280 grit in my shop. It makes it just that much easier to sand different projects and have everything on hand. To replace pads on the sander, there's a Velcro attachment, so you just peel off the old pad, grab your new one, and once you line up the holes for dust collection, just stick that fresh one on and you're ready to go. Alright, so let's start building. First, I'm going to take my tape measure and I'm going to measure a piece of lumber at 41 inches. So like I've talked about in my other video is that you want to mark at 41 inches and then taking into account the width of the blade, mark 41 and 1/8 of an inch. This way you can align your saw right in between these two lines to get the perfect cut. So then you'll take your speed square and mark across the top of the wood. So next you'll use a clamp and attach the lumber to the top of your work table. You'll then use the speed square and then you're going to line up your saw in between those two lines that you drew just to make sure that you're getting the right cut. You use the speed square as a guide to make sure you've got a straight cut. So here's just another clip of showing you with the circular saw, you want to make sure that the blade is going to be right between those two lines to make sure that your cut is straight. So you want to sand your wood entirely to make sure you've got a nice finish, especially if you're going to be staining. The last thing you want to do is get a splinter. So here is the Kreg Jig K4 pocket hole system. I love this thing. So on the front of the K4 system is a adjustment so that you can set it for the thickness of your wood. On the back of the system, you have a clamp that holds the wood in place, so you can just adjust the collar and then adjust the clamp. That way you can make sure that it's nice and snug, because the last thing you want is for that wood to be moving when you're trying to drill into it. So there are holes on the top that help gauge how much distance you want between your pocket holes, and all of this is just dependent on the width of the wood that you're using. And here you have the Kreg Jig Pocket Hole Mini. This is like the cheapest version of it. It's great if you're just getting started, but oh my god, it can just be so much work to use. It's basically just one of the holes on the Kreg Jig. So to make the pocket holes, there are specific screws that Kreg sells that has a collar that you set based on the thickness of your material. There's also its own specific screw. It's a square screw bit that works specifically with Kreg pocket hole screws. So to make pocket holes, you'll just insert the screw bit into your power drill, make sure the collar is set for the thickness of your wood, clamp your wood piece into the system, then you're just going to drill down to create that pocket hole. When I take it out, I like to make sure that all of the dust is out of it, just so that it makes it easier when I'm trying to join it later, that there's not all of this sawdust in the way. So here's another look at it from the front. I'm going to be putting 2 pocket hole screws into this, and since it's wide enough, I'm going to use each hole on either side. So I'll just drill down into it. You want to drill all the way down to the collar, and then you can back out of it, and there you've got your pocket screws. So here I'll show you how to do it really quickly if you were using the Pocket Hole Mini. So you'll need a clamp for this one, and you'll just take your Pocket Hole Mini and your piece of wood, and you're going to have to clamp them together. Then I will use my drill bit, drill right into it all the way to the collar, and then I've got my pocket hole. So you can see this was a lot of work just for one pocket hole, which is why I suggest using the Pocket Hole K4. So I will make sure that I link both of those below so you can make the choice of which one you want, but I recommend the K4. So now we're going to attach this shorter piece that we drilled pocket holes into to the longer piece that we cut earlier. You want to make sure that it's completely lined up on the wood, and then we're going to just use one of our clamps to hold it together. So now I'm going to use my speed square to make sure that we've got a nice right angle. The last thing that you want is your cut to be 0 degrees and it to be rocking on whatever surface you put it on. I'm going to switch out my drill bits. This is the drill bit that I mentioned earlier that is used for the pocket hole screws. So I'll just attach it. It's actually magnetic, so it helps to kind of hold it in place. I'm going to drill those right into the pocket holes that'll attach these 2 pieces of wood together. And then I'll do the exact same thing on the other side. So you're going to line up, clamp, check it with the speed square, drill in the pocket screws, and just like that, we've got ourselves a nice little stand. So these are my must-have woodworking tools for any beginner workshop. With these tools, you should be able to build almost anything. Definitely anything that I've built on my Instagram and my blog, you can do with just these tools. It may take a little more time and care, but it's totally doable. So let me know if you guys enjoyed this video. I've got more info about these and a few other tools I love on my blog, melanatedmakerdiy.com. I'll leave a link to my blog plus all the tools I talked about in this video in the description below. Make sure you like this video and be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know when I drop my next video. Thanks y'all, see you soon.